I remember the exact moment the pit formed in my stomach. It was 1:47 a.m. in Seattle, 2 days before Christmas. The only light in my downtown apartment came from my dual monitors, bathing my face in that sickly fluorescent blue glow that only financial spreadsheets and exhaustion can produce. I'm Clara Denson, 29, and until that moment, I was riding a high, having just finalized the acquisition audit for a major tech firm, a $40 million deal I'd practically done solo. The numbers were perfect, the ink was dry, and the firm was going to send me a bonus that could fund a small country. I stretched, listening to my spine crack, and whispered, "Done." Just one day of work stood between me and a lonely but earned Christmas break. Lonely because my family, my mother Vivian, my father Arthur, and my perpetually struggling sister Stella had canceled our traditional trip to their renovated farmhouse on Vancouver Island. Mom had called 2 days ago, her voice thick with practiced despair. "Oh, Clara, darling, we are just miserable," she had sighed. The sound of a traumatic actress playing a flu victim. "Stella and I have the most dreadful chest cold, and your father feels it creeping in. It's truly best to postpone until New Year's. I know with your high-pressure job, you're secretly relieved." I told her I understood, of course. I always understood. I closed the audit folder and, as a mindless ritual, opened Instagram. The first post I saw, uploaded 30 minutes prior, stopped my heart like a physical blow. It was from Stella Jensen. Her hand, perfectly manicured, was holding a flute of something bubbly, Prosecco probably. The backdrop was impossibly blue, whitewashed buildings clinging to cliffs, and the iconic caldera facing infinity pools. The location tag screamed Santorini, Greece. The caption? Surprise Mediterranean escape. When life gives you a luxury flight, you say yas. Blessed. Family time. No regrets. My throat closed. I thumbed through the carousel of photos. Stella posing in a flowing white dress, Mom, Vivian, looking radiant and healthy, raising a glass with Dad on a terrace, the three of them laughing, the Aegean Sea glittering behind them. Too sick for Christmas in Vancouver, I thought, the bitterness a sharp tang in my mouth, but perfectly healthy for a 5-star trip to Greece? I was still staring at the photo of my mother, who just yesterday claimed she could barely lift her head when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Oregon area code. Who calls from Oregon at 1:50 a.m.? Exhaustion made me answer, expecting a misdial. "Ms. Jensen. Clara Jensen?" "Speaking." "This is Officer Daniel Hayes with the Oregon State Police. I regret to inform you that your vehicle has been involved in a serious incident." My heart stuttered. "My vehicle? My Jaguar?" "Yes, ma'am. A custom sapphire blue Jaguar F-Type R registered to you. It's been totaled." The word totaled echoed in the quiet air of my high-rise apartment. I gripped the desk edge, my knuckles white. That's not possible. My car is safely locked in my parents' garage on Vancouver Island. I haven't driven it since Thanksgiving. A beat of silence. Then the officer's professionally detached voice returned. "Ma'am, the driver, a Miss Sierra Hayes, was arrested at the scene near Portland for driving under the influence, blood alcohol levels significantly over the legal limit, and possession of a controlled substance. She claims your sister, Stella Jensen, gave her explicit permission to use the vehicle." I closed my eyes. The image of my beautiful, custom, $120,000 car, a machine I'd worked 18 months of 80-hour weeks to afford, reduced to scrap metal. And the betrayal. Stella, 2 weeks ago, with her practiced pout, "Clara, please, just for one weekend. I need some new content for my portfolio. It'll look amazing on the ferry, I promise. It won't leave the island otherwise." The trust I'd foolishly extended, yet again for the sake of family peace. "Ms. Jensen, are you still there?" "Yes," I managed, my voice thin. "Where is the car?" He gave me the address of an impound lot in Portland, explaining I needed to contact my insurance immediately. The call ended, leaving me in the blue light. the silence heavy and suffocating. I opened the family group chat and typed, the fury finally giving my hands purpose. My Jaguar has been totaled in Portland, Oregon. Someone Stella gave the keys to was arrested for DUI. Police just called. Someone explain. I called Stella. Straight to voicemail. I called Mom. Voicemail. Dad. Voicemail. 10 agonizing minutes later, my screen lit up with a text from Vivian Jensen. Clara, my goodness, must you ruin the entire trip over this? It's just an accident. Why are you making things difficult for Stella's friend? I set the phone down carefully. The shock was gone, replaced by a cold, hard, crystalline certainty. I walked to my closet, pulled out a suitcase, and began packing. For 29 years, I had been the sensible one, the responsible one, the family ATM. I had paid $15,000 for Stella's business launch debt, covered $75,000 for 2 years of her downtown Vancouver rent, and quietly funded $50,000 over 5 years for Mom's exclusive yacht club fees. All because, as my father once told me, you have plenty, Clara. All you know is work. The least you can do is help your sister out occasionally. I glanced at my phone. 3 more demanding texts from Vivian. I ignored them. For the first time, their demands met a wall of silence. I dialed the number for Reese Kincaid, the corporate litigation attorney who handled my firm's most aggressive cases. Reese, it's Clara Jensen. There's been an incident. I need legal advice about a total vehicle in Oregon. I'm driving there now. Call me the moment you get this. I zipped my bag, picked up the keys to my reliable but boring Toyota Corolla, and before leaving, looked at the Santorini photos mocking me from my laptop screen. Family raising glasses without me, as always. I closed the laptop. They only saw me as an endless source of funds. But tonight, that bank was officially closed. The pre-dawn chill in the Portland impound lot felt like justice. My breath fogged the air as I stood before the wreck of my sapphire blue Jaguar. The sleek hood was accordion folded. The driver's side was non-existent. Shards of glass covered the concrete like cruel, expensive glitter. Owner, a burly officer approached. Yes, Clara Jensen. He flipped his clipboard. Driver, Sierra Hayes. BAC was .24, 3 times the legal limit. Negligent entrustment. I heard myself whisper, remembering Reese's emergency callback. She insisted your sister, Stella Jensen, gave her the keys directly, said they were partying. This wasn't some harmless influence photo shoot. This was willful handover to an impaired driver. As the owner, you could have been financially destroyed. I signed the forms, my hand steady. The sky was turning a miserable gray as I drove back to Seattle. Back at my quiet apartment, I brewed a pot of the strongest coffee and opened the folder labeled Familial Overhead. The Excel spreadsheet inside tracked every dollar. The total? $140,000. I had bought the illusion of family, and the price was steep. My stomach tightened. Then I remembered the iPad I'd bought Mom. I checked my Apple ID sync. Sure enough, there were synchronized iMessages. The thread between Vivian and Stella was a dagger of clarity. Vivian, don't worry about Clara. Just use that money and go to Santorini. She has plenty. All she knows is work. Stella, but she'll see the posts. You know how she checks Instagram. Vivian, tell her we're sick. She never questions anything. Stella, what about the Jag? I promised Sierra she could borrow it. Vivian, Clara's too busy to notice. She'll be working on that audit all weekend. Just be discreet. The timestamps were 3 days prior, hours before Mom's tearful cancellation call. The sun finally broke the horizon, illuminating the undeniable truth. I've been paying to be excluded from my own life. I've cried enough. Now I decided it was time for consequences.
Clara, you need to fix this right now. Her voice was tight, thin with panic, not sickness. We're stranded. Our cards were all declined at the hotel gift shop, and the manager is asking questions. I heard Dad, Arthur, murmuring something off screen. Stella rushed into view, her face contorted in a mask of genuine terror, the theatrical mask finally cracking. You've completely ruined Christmas, Clara. My entire trip is ruined because of you. How could you do this? I studied their faces, the expectation that I would crumble and immediately apologize, that I would magically fix the glitch in their spoiled existence. That's no longer my concern, I said, my voice shockingly level. My lawyer, Reese Kincaid, has all the details. The account termination notice was quite clear. The funds you've been accustomed to accessing are no longer available to you. Vivian's face froze, transforming from frantic to stone. Your lawyer? What notice? What about the flight home? That, I replied, feeling the keys turn in the lock of my freedom, is no longer my problem. I ended the call. 10 minutes later, Reese called back. The Oregon police are proceeding with charges, he stated, skipping pleasantries. They're summoning Stella for questioning regarding negligent entrustment of the vehicle. The insurance company is not accepting the "my friend borrowed it" defense. She gave unauthorized access to someone she knew was intoxicated. I made a mental note, the grim satisfaction of consequences finally manifesting, overriding any residual familial guilt. I should warn you, Reese continued, his tone cautious. This is the precise moment where they will attempt to make you the villain. Prepare for accusations, slander, and every emotional weapon they have. I told him I was ready. I understood the pattern now. When consequences appeared, I became the problem in their narrative. An email popped up on my screen. Subject: A father's thoughts. It was from Arthur Jensen, separate from the family group chat. Clara, for the first time I'm writing to you separately. Perhaps we've taken your generosity for granted. Stella made an error of judgment, but isn't family about forgiveness? Can we discuss this reasonably, as adults? Too little, too late, I thought, forwarding it to Reese with instructions to handle any response according to our agreed legal strategy. I spent the afternoon preparing the evidence package for the extended family, screenshots of the Santorini photos side by side with the "too sick for Christmas" texts, the police report, the insurance claim documents, and, most damningly, the financial spreadsheet. I downloaded a voice recorder app, Insurance Against Future Manipulation. As evening fell on Christmas Eve, my phone buzzed with a text from Vivian. If you continue with this vindictive behavior, I'll have no choice but to tell the entire extended family about your breakdown. Is that what you want? Everyone knowing you've had some kind of mental episode? Before I could formulate a reply, Stella's Instagram story updated. A filtered selfie, tear-stained eyes emphasized by dramatic lighting. The caption, "So hurt right now by toxic family members who only care about money, truly devastating." The calculated public shaming was the final, predictable act. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Clara, this is Aunt Eleanor. Your mother is worried sick. What is going on? You need to call her. I let the phone drop under the sofa. I looked around my quiet, tidy apartment. For the first time in my life, I felt not abandonment, but profound, powerful freedom. On the day after Christmas, I met Reese at his polished mahogany office. I laid the printed evidence across his desk, the photos, the messages, the spreadsheets. The evidence was irrefutable. They're harassing me now, I stated, tapping the yacht club ledger. My mother has been busy with the extended family. Reese leaned back. The extended family is not legally entitled to an explanation, but we need to be strategic. We're sending the formal notification to everyone today, the email bomb, as we called it. Timeline, financial records, everything. It prevents them from rewriting history, and more importantly, it stops the harassment. I stared at the $140,000 total. I want them to see exactly what I paid for, I confirmed. We drafted the email, professional, factual, and devastatingly complete. No accusations, just data points. Dates, amounts, screenshots. As I pressed send, Reese reassured me. This will destabilize their system. Your father and the extended family are enablers. When the financial crutch is gone and the truth is visible, the enablers start asking questions. I knew he was right. 2 days later, my cousin Jeremy called. Clara, there was a family conference call last night, he began, clearly uncomfortable. Your mother organized it. She said you're having a mental health crisis. That you've always resented Stella's popularity. That you're using money to control everyone. I closed my eyes, recognizing the familiar script.
Did she mention the $120,000 car her golden child let a drunk friend destroy? Or the fact they were all in Santorini after claiming to be too sick for Christmas? Silence. She edited those parts out, Jeremy admitted. I'm not surprised. Did anyone question her version? Not really. You know how Vivian is. Very convincing. After hanging up, I checked Instagram. Stella had posted a link to a hastily created crowdfunding page. Struggling after toxic family abandonment, any help appreciated. The comments were full of relatives offering sympathy and small donations. My blood went cold. Not a word about the car or the lies. Just Stella, the abandoned victim. Then Reese called. Stella has been messaging your colleagues, he said without preamble, suggesting a wellness check implying you're unstable. Defamation, I hissed. My professional instincts kicking in. Exactly. Cease and desist is already out. Also, your bank contacted me. There have been unauthorized attempts to access your accounts. Your mother, using old passwords. The bank is documenting everything, Reese assured me. And the insurance investigator's report explicitly supports your version. Stella gave unauthorized access to your vehicle. I sank onto my sofa, suddenly exhausted. They're not going to stop, are they? No, Reese said simply. But neither are we. I just got the email from the Oregon prosecutor's office. Stella has officially been contacted regarding potential charges of negligent entrustment. The friend's statement confirms she knowingly provided keys to an intoxicated individual. I stared at the email, the 2 words I sent to Reese ringing in my head. It's working. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound, when I received Reese's text about the emergency family meeting. You weren't invited, he'd written. Of course I wasn't. They were still trying to solve the problem of their missing money without acknowledging the central figure in their financial universe. As far as Vivian and Stella were concerned, I was an inconvenient glitch that needed rebooting, not a person who had been profoundly betrayed. But the system was destabilizing rapidly. The next morning, the signs that their carefully constructed world was crumbling arrived in a series of gratifying emails. The first was from Stella's apartment management company, mistakenly copied to me. Final notice: eviction proceedings due to non-payment. I scrolled past it without a flicker of emotion. The second was a voicemail from the Willow Creek Yacht Club manager for Vivian Jensen. Mrs. Jensen, your membership has been temporarily suspended pending payment of outstanding fees. That hit harder for Vivian than any lawsuit ever could. The public humiliation of losing her precious social standing. The third and most surprising was an email from my father, Arthur, sent from his personal, rarely used account. Clara, I believe we need to talk. Just you and me. Your mother doesn't know I'm contacting you. Arthur. I forwarded it to Reese, without replying. 10 minutes later, Vivian's name appeared on my phone screen. I declined the call, but her voicemail was immediate, raw with genuine fury, not the practiced theatrical kind. How dare you turn your father against me? Stella is devastated. We're your family, Clara. You can't just cut us off when we need you most. I saved the voicemail. It was perfect evidence of continued harassment and emotional manipulation. Reese's response was immediate. The facade is cracking. Family systems destabilize when enablers start questioning. Hold your position. I stared at my father's email. For the first time, he had acted independently. It was a pathetic, last-ditch effort, too little and years too late. But it confirmed what I knew. Without my funds, Stella's influencer lifestyle was impossible. Vivian's social life was ruined, and Arthur was finally being forced to confront the wreckage he'd quietly enabled. I closed my laptop. The total on the spreadsheet, $140,000, no longer looked like a price tag. It looked like a ransom I was no longer paying. The family intervention email arrived a few days later, just as I was deep in a quarterly projection review at work. 8 signatures at the bottom: aunts, uncles, cousins, people I barely spoke to, all united by a sudden, urgent desire for reconciliation. Blood ties are permanent. One unfortunate mistake shouldn't erase a lifetime of family bonds, the email insisted, urging me toward family therapy.
naturally with me covering everyone's costs. They threw in references to my parents' advancing age and my potential future regrets. It was a masterpiece of emotional blackmail. Buried beneath the platitudes, there was a separate, slightly more sincere note from Arthur. Clara, I recognize we've taken advantage. Perhaps we could speak. Just the two of us. I snorted.
Too late for private negotiations, Dad. My phone buzzed with a text from Reese. Check your email. Hannigan and Associates just arrived. I switched screens. It was a legal letterhead from one of Vivian's old yacht club friends, now apparently the family attorney. The threatening tone was immediate. Our firm has been retained to address the emotional distress damages suffered by the Jensen family due to your vindictive actions. They claimed I had intentionally damaged family relationships, suggested my personal vendetta could harm my professional reputation, and pointedly reminded me that Stella now faced criminal charges, which they framed as entirely my fault for escalating a minor misunderstanding. The letter concluded with the ultimate maneuver, an invitation to the extended family New Year's gathering on Vancouver Island with clear strings attached. Attend and reconcile, or be permanently excluded from the family. The implication was heavy. This was my last chance to buy my way back into the fold. My finger hovered over Reese's number. A wave of familiar, debilitating doubt crashed over me, the old pattern of guilt resurfacing. What if they were right? Was I being too harsh? The threat to my professional life sent a cold knot into my stomach. Should I just pay them off to make this go away? I asked Reese when he answered, my voice small. Clara. Reese's tone was firm, grounding me in the reality of the situation. This is exactly what they want. To make you doubt yourself. This is their last gasp. Remember the messages? The Santorini trip while they claimed illness? Your total jag? This is desperation, not sincerity. Don't flinch now. I straightened my spine. I looked at the old framed family photo on my desk. You're right. This ends now, completely. The hearing is tomorrow, Reese reminded me. Everything is ready. The county courthouse in Seattle loomed gray and imposing the following morning. My charcoal suit felt like a Kevlar vest, my leather portfolio a shield containing every document I needed to sever the toxic ties. Inside courtroom 3, I spotted them immediately. Vivian and Stella sat together, both wearing expressions of injured dignity. Vivian had chosen a pale lavender shawl that made her look fragile, like a wounded Victorian heroine. Stella's normally perfect hair was a little flat, her eyes puffy. All rise, the bailiff announced, as Judge Eris Thorne entered. His expression was utterly neutral as he reviewed the petition for the restraining order. Case number 6194, Jensen versus Jensen. Let's begin with the petitioner. I approached the witness stand, took the oath, and waited for Reese to begin. Ms. Jensen, please explain to the court why you're seeking this restraining order. With steady hands, I opened my portfolio. Your Honor, I have documented a pattern of financial exploitation and harassment by my family members spanning 5 years, culminating in the destruction of my $120,000 vehicle and subsequent threats. I submitted the spreadsheet detailing every penny of the $140,000. Judge Thorne's eyebrows rose slightly. And the incident with the vehicle. My sister, Stella, borrowed my Jaguar F-Type R, claiming it would remain safely parked. Instead, while the family was secretly vacationing in Santorini after telling me they were too sick for Christmas, she gave the keys to an intoxicated friend who totaled the vehicle in Portland, Oregon. I submitted the police report and the insurance claim. Then came the iMessage screenshots. These messages, recovered from my mother's iPad, show my mother and sister explicitly discussing their plans to deceive me about their travel plans and their intention to use my vehicle while I was, in their words, too busy working to notice. Judge Thorne's face darkened as he reviewed the texts. He looked directly at Stella. Miss Jensen, are you confirming that you gave someone you knew was drinking the keys to your sister's 6-figure automobile? Before Stella could respond, Vivian burst out, She's lying! She's always been jealous of Stella's beauty and popularity. Silence, Mrs. Jensen, the judge warned. He returned his attention to Stella, who mumbled, "It wasn't like that. Sierra only had a couple drinks. How was I supposed to know she'd wreck it?" The judge's face hardened. After several minutes reviewing the complete evidence, he looked up. "In my time on the bench, I've rarely seen such a stunning pattern of financial exploitation and harassment. This court grants the 5-year restraining order against Stella Jensen. Additionally, I'm issuing a stern warning to Vivian and Arthur Jensen regarding harassment. The cease and desist letter is hereby validated by this court. Ms. Stella Jensen, you will serve 1 year of probation for your role in this incident. Consider yourself fortunate the charges weren't more severe." Vivian made a choked sound. Stella started to cry. As we left the courtroom, Reese squeezed my shoulder. "Perfect execution, Clara. It's over." 2 weeks after the court hearing, the insurance settlement for the totaled Jaguar finally arrived. A check for $35,000, the salvage value of the wreckage, minus the deductible I was still financially responsible for, a final, irritating receipt for my family's recklessness. The check felt too light, a disproportionately small monetary exchange for the heavy weight of years of emotional debt. But as I drove my practical, dependable Toyota Corolla to the Seattle Women's Resilience Center, a shelter I had started casually researching during the height of the betrayal, I felt a different kind of lightness. The director, a woman named Lena with kind, tired eyes, looked at the check with astonishment when I explained my story, emphasizing that the funds were specifically from the sale of the wreckage of the car my sister helped destroy. "This is extraordinarily generous, Clara," she said, accepting the donation with a quiet reverence. "It will make a real difference." "It's the right thing," I replied, feeling a tectonic shift beneath my shoulders as the weight of the past finally lifted. Later that evening, I allowed myself one final public act of closure, posting a single cropped photo to my secure private Instagram account, the donation check with the shelter's logo visible, the memo line reading simply, "Sold the wreckage, bought my freedom." The final piece of the external story arrived from Greece a month later, a tacky miniature porcelain replica of the Parthenon that I'd ordered online. I wrapped it carefully, tucked inside a card with a brief, unsigned note. "Congratulations on your trip. This is the last thing you will ever receive from me." I addressed the package to the Vancouver Island farmhouse and dropped it at the post office without hesitation, watching the parcel roll away on the outgoing mail cart, symbolizing my former life finally departing from my orbit. The monthly contribution to the Resilience Center gives me more satisfaction than years of covering Stella's rent ever did. The practical sedan parked outside represents more than transportation. It is a declaration that I choose utility and peace over impression and show. A decisive knock on my door pulled me from my thoughts. Lena, the director of the center, stood there, snowflakes melting in her hair, accompanied by her husband, David, holding a warm casserole dish. "First to arrive, as usual," David said, embracing me, their genuine warmth filling my apartment as we set up for the small gathering. Soon, Meredith arrived, then Lisa and Janelle from the center. The conversation flowed without the hidden currents of calculation I grew accustomed to at family gatherings. When Meredith pulled me aside, her eyes swimming with familiar tears as she described her estranged father's latest demand for a small loan, I recognized the guilt etched onto her face. "Your generosity should be appreciated, not expected," I told her quietly. The words I needed to hear a year ago, now flowing easily. "Here are some resources that helped me." I handed her a card with Dr. Winter's number, offering the support she needed to fix her problem herself. Later, after the others had gone, I sat on my window seat watching the snow. A final, surprising knock came at the door. Mrs. Sanchez, my elderly neighbor, stood in the hallway holding a foil-covered plate, steam rising from beneath. "Homemade tamales," she announced, her silver hair gleaming in the hall light. "No one should be alone on New Year's." Her smile held no expectation, only genuine kindness. I invited her in, setting the plate on my small table by the window. As we ate, she told me stories of her own boundaries, set decades ago with a demanding sister. "Family isn't always who you're born to, dear," she said, her weathered hand covering mine. "Sometimes it's who sees your worth beyond what you can provide." I felt a smile spread across my face, genuine and unguarded. For the first time in my life, I understood what freedom and true belonging was supposed to feel like.